Archangel Michael says, "Have you ever felt your name was mentioned in a room you weren't invited into? Did your heart suddenly feel heavy, like it sensed a betrayal before your mind caught up? Why do you keep thinking about that person, the one who smiled with you but made your spirit uneasy? That's not paranoia. That's your divine alert system. This is it. You have exactly 45 seconds before something hidden begins to unravel in your atmosphere. Don't skip this. This is not entertainment. This is a prophetic interruption. I was sent to you for one reason only: to stop the destruction they tried to trigger. Someone you trusted has already spoken your name in betrayal. They didn't do it in anger. They did it in calculation. Behind the compliments, behind the prayers, behind the loyalty, they've made a move in secret. But I, Archangel Michael, have been watching. I am standing near your house tonight with my sword drawn, not in silence, not in patience, but in divine urgency. This message is not late. It is on time, and you are the only one who can halt the damage, not by shouting, not by running, but by opening your spiritual eyes now. Your heart knew. Your dreams tried to warn you. The silence in the hallway? That wasn't nothing. That was the setup beginning. Now heaven is shouting. And I, Michael, am speaking. Don't scroll. Don't delay. Because the betrayal has begun, but so has your moment to intercept it. This is your 45-second window, and it starts now. Type 777 if you can feel the shift. Archangel Michael says, "The sand has already started falling. The countdown is not a warning. It's a command from heaven. 45 seconds. That's how close you were to spiritual collapse. Not because of failure, but because of deception, by someone you once held in your heart. You think you have time? You think you'll deal with it tomorrow? But tomorrow wasn't promised for this decision. Heaven has activated the timer, and it didn't start when you opened this message. It started the moment they spoke your name in betrayal. Yes, your name. Mentioned in a place you didn't enter, used in a sentence you never heard. And what they said, what they agreed to, what they whispered in secret, it carried consequences. But I heard it. I, Michael, was there. The moment they sealed their agreement, I felt the shift in your atmosphere. Do you remember the pressure in your chest 2 nights ago? Do you recall the restless sleep, the strange dreams, the chills in your hallway? That wasn't coincidence. That was the spiritual countdown beginning. And now we're down to seconds. Let me be clear. This is not about paranoia. This is about preparation. The betrayal wasn't random. It was organized. It was silent. It was surgically precise. They didn't come with a sword. They came with a smile. But I saw their eyes. And behind that grin was a dagger of distraction, a blade of delay. They needed you to feel tired. They needed you to feel unsure. They planned it that way, because hesitation is the breeding ground of spiritual destruction. But heaven didn't sit in silence. God commanded me, "Go now, intercept it, deliver the warning, sound the trumpet." So I came, and now I stand, with fire in my wings and war in my breath, and I say, the countdown has begun. Now listen. There are 3 dimensions of betrayal: emotional, strategic, spiritual, and this one was all 3. They pretended to support you emotionally, but spiritually they were leaking your name to forces that want your light extinguished. I watched as they received instructions from someone who is not of the light. It wasn't just a conversation, it was a covenant. Yes, a spiritual contract signed in silence. You didn't hear it. You didn't see it. But you felt it. That sudden withdrawal, that unexplained heaviness, that strange resistance in your progress. It wasn't bad luck. It was the invisible aftermath of the agreement they made behind your back. But now, I have come to disrupt it. You've been crying out for a breakthrough, but the breakthrough was being blocked by someone standing too close. They saw your favor. They envied your calling. They didn't want to destroy you publicly. They wanted to ruin you quietly. A delay here. A missed opportunity there. A whispered lie to someone who trusted you, all while still holding your hand. But I saw. God says, I will not let my child be silently crucified by false companionship. So this is not just a message. This is an act of divine interference. Right now, I am circling your home. Right now, the timer continues to tick in the spirit realm. And if you do nothing, the door will shut. And it will shut violently. Let me explain this truth clearly. Not every delay is a demonic attack. Sometimes the delay is your own tolerance of people you were supposed to walk away from. This person wasn't supposed to be in your circle anymore. They were supposed to exit 3 seasons ago, but you kept them close, thinking it was grace. You called it loyalty, but heaven called it disobedience. And now, because you kept them in a place they no longer belonged, the betrayal that could have been prevented has begun to manifest. But this is your moment to stop it. You can stop it. Not with vengeance, not with exposure, but with spiritual obedience. Close the door. Cut the tie. Seal the breach. Because if you don't, the countdown will finish what it started. You have already seen signs, flickering lights that made no sense, phone calls that rang once and then stopped, conversations that fell silent when you entered the room, dreams where names kept repeating, a heaviness that wouldn't lift, no matter how much you prayed. These weren't small signs. They were divine surveillance alarms. And tonight I'm sounding the last one, the final trumpet. If you act in this moment, the destruction can be halted. If you hesitate again, what was once spiritual will break into the physical. It may come as a broken relationship, a lost opportunity, a sudden loss, a public humiliation. But not if you listen now. You have 35 seconds left spiritually. That's not fear. That's clarity. You know who I'm talking about. You felt their name push into your spirit even as you read this. That's not fear. That's divine knowing. Your spirit recognizes betrayal even when your heart wants to believe the best. But I was not sent to appease your emotions. I was sent to defend your future. And that future cannot survive another second of silence. I declare this as the angel of war. The countdown has begun. But the outcome depends on your obedience. There is still time. Not much, but enough. Here is what you must do next. Pray with specificity. Speak their name to heaven. You don't need to expose them publicly. Expose them in the spirit. Anoint your space. Take authority in your room. Speak protection over your atmosphere. Say yes to separation. Stop romanticizing the role they once played in your life. What they gave was temporary. What they've cost is eternal. Declare this out loud. No more delay, no more deception, no more destruction in my name. Say it. Declare it. Seal it. Michael stands ready. He cannot act without your word. Heaven does not override your free will. But if you say yes, I will move in your defense. You're not alone. You were never alone. But you are at the crossroads where choice becomes consequence. Will you trust your discernment now? Will you believe the signs weren't random? Will you accept that your calling is too important to be delayed one more minute? If so, you just intercepted the destruction. And what they meant to ruin will now become the foundation for your elevation. Type 444 to declare, I choose truth. I choose freedom. I choose war in the spirit. Because the countdown may have begun, but so has your deliverance. Archangel Michael says, they look like a friend. They sound like a supporter. They might even hold your hand when you cry. But they are the reason your blessing keeps slipping through your fingers. The hidden enemy has a familiar face. And it's time you stop denying what your spirit already knows. Don't skip this part. If you scroll now, you may never understand why your soul keeps feeling violated in rooms where no one is shouting. Because not all betrayal begins with a knife. Some betrayals start with silence. I saw them. I stood in the corner of the room they entered. The room you were not invited to. The meeting where your name was mentioned as an obstacle, not a person. They said, we just need to make sure they don't rise too fast. They cloaked it in concern. They wrapped it in fake prayer. They disguised jealousy as wisdom. But I saw through it. God saw through it. This is not paranoia. This is precision. Heaven is pulling back the curtain. Let me take you back. Remember that one conversation that made no sense? The one where they subtly compared your life to theirs, and you felt suddenly small? That wasn't humility. That was sabotage. They were planting seeds of insecurity. Seeds that would make you doubt yourself. Seeds that would make you invite your own delay. I'm here to uproot every single one. Because they didn't just talk. They acted. Here is what you don't know. The enemy isn't always outside. Sometimes the assignment against your life is being carried out by someone inside your house, your prayer group, your own circle of trust. Yes, they clap for you in public. But in the spirit realm, they are reporting your moves to forces that want your destiny buried. They don't even realize how dark the influence has become. They started with envy. Now they're operating under manipulation. This person was supposed to leave your life 3 cycles ago. I whispered it to you in dreams. I showed you flashes. Their face kept appearing when you prayed for protection. Their name surfaced when you asked, God, show me who's blocking me. But you dismissed it. You said, they're not perfect, but they're good to me. And yes, they were. until your light began to outshine their shadows. Let me say this clearly. They are not your enemy, but they are being used by your enemy. And that's even more dangerous, because you lower your guard around them, because you keep telling them everything, because you think loyalty is holy even when it costs your clarity. But heaven says today, loyalty without discernment is a spiritual liability. You have carried the weight of someone else's poison in your spirit. Their fears became your doubts. Their bitterness became your delay. And now, your atmosphere is soaked with confusion that doesn't even belong to you. Let's talk about what they said. They said you were getting too confident. They said you were moving too fast. They said you were changing, and they didn't mean it as a compliment. But it wasn't just talk. They blocked a message meant for you. They intercepted a blessing. They whispered doubt into someone else's ear about you. And now your name sits in rooms it never deserved to be doubted in. I know this hurts, but it's the truth. And the truth is the only thing that can break this pattern. There's more. I saw their phone light up with your name, and they rolled their eyes. They delayed responding. Not because they were busy, but because they were calculating. They said, "I'll get back to them when I feel like it." Meanwhile, you were praying for a response. You were waiting, thinking you did something wrong. But the wrong was never yours. They've used your kindness as a cloak. They've walked in your shadow and claimed they helped you grow. But in truth, they were draining you. They drained your time, your joy, your focus, and worst of all, they drained your discernment. But today that ends. I have come to sever the cord that kept you tied to a spiritual liability. You are not here to carry their offense. You are not assigned to heal someone who secretly wants you to fail. You are not obligated to stay loyal to someone who sabotages you in silence. Heaven has cleared the air, and I'm about to name the enemy. You've been seeing their name over and over lately, in dreams, in passing conversations, in random social media posts. That is not a coincidence. That is spiritual confirmation. Stop brushing it off. Stop excusing it. Stop calling it love when it feels like quiet betrayal. This message is your divine permission to distance without guilt, to protect your name, to close the access gate, to say, "I forgive you, but you can't sit this close to my anointing anymore." Because not everyone deserves front row access to your calling. Not everyone is equipped to walk beside favor. Some people come close just to see how much they can slow you down without being obvious. And they've succeeded for too long. But no more. The angels are shifting your spiritual circle right now. Do not resist the exits. Do not beg for closure. Do not chase people who fell off when you grew. When you started healing, they got uncomfortable. When you got clarity, they got distant. That wasn't punishment. That was protection. Michael says, "I have seen the plot. I have heard the vow. I have watched the delay. And now I draw my sword, and I stand at your gate, not to ask permission, but to defend the calling on your name." Here's what will happen next. A conversation will be overheard. A message will be seen that wasn't meant for you. A slip of the tongue will reveal their true posture, and your spirit will finally accept what it already knew. The betrayal is about to be exposed, not for revenge, but for revelation, so that you never again allow someone to shadow your shine in the name of history. This is your clarity. This is your proof. This is your rescue. They wore a mask of familiarity, but behind it was a spirit that couldn't stand your calling. They weren't praying for you. They were preying on you. But that stops here. Say this out loud. I disconnect from every hidden enemy masked as a friend. I call back my discernment. I reclaim my joy. I choose wisdom over sentiment. And I welcome heaven's protection. Say it again if you feel your heart tremble. Because that trembling is your soul releasing the last string of manipulation. Michael says, you don't need to expose them. You just need to listen. Their own actions will testify, and your peace will confirm everything. You are not crazy. You were just surrounded by someone who couldn't carry the weight of your favor. Let them go. Bless them. But release them. Because the longer you carry them, the more they will poison the waters you're meant to walk on. This is your line in the sand. The hidden enemy has been named, and your spirit has been given the sword of truth. Now use it wisely. Cut ties in peace, protect your elevation, and declare with me, the deception ends today. I break the tie. I reclaim the clarity heaven gave me. My destiny will not be delayed by disguised betrayal. Type 9999 to say, this was the final time I let their access destroy my atmosphere. Archangel Michael says, let me speak this plainly. They didn't just lie about you. They plotted your collapse. This wasn't a moment of weakness on their part. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was deliberate. It was organized in silence. It was camouflaged in kindness. It was hidden in the language of love. But behind the soft words and familiar eyes was a contract of destruction written in the spiritual realm. Yes, child, this was deeper than betrayal. It was an assignment sent not just to hurt you, but to remove you from your path permanently. Let me tell you what heaven saw. They weren't just envious of your progress. They were afraid of your purpose. Because if you ever healed fully, if you ever walked boldly, if you ever activated your full anointing, their control over you would end. So they triggered what they thought was your weak point, and they thought it would work. They said, if we can just get them to question their calling, if we can just make them feel unworthy again, if we can delay them long enough, maybe the window will close. They wanted to dim your fire before you realized you were born to set others free. They didn't attack you with fists. They attacked your mind. They fed your doubts. They poked your old wounds. They resurrected your insecurities. On purpose. And you almost fell for it. Almost. But then, God whispered. The Spirit stirred. I was dispatched, and now I'm standing between you and the destruction they designed. Listen to me. This wasn't just emotional sabotage. This was a spiritual assassination attempt. They knew what they were doing, and they knew exactly when to do it. They waited for your tired season. They waited until your confidence started shaking. They waited until you were vulnerable enough to believe the lie. And then they delivered it with a smile. A text, a delay in support, a suspicious question. A subtle doubt slipped in like a dagger wrapped in concern. That wasn't care. That was warfare. You keep replaying the moment over and over in your mind. Maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe I misheard. Maybe I'm being paranoid. But I, Archangel Michael, am here to tell you, you're not paranoid, you're prophetic. Your discernment is not broken, it's been screaming under the weight of your desire to keep the peace. But peace without truth is just a slow death. And that's exactly what they were counting on, that you'd rather stay quiet than start the fire. But here's the truth. They lit the fire. You're just finally seeing the smoke. They didn't want to destroy you publicly. They wanted you to self-destruct privately, to spiral, to quit quietly, to walk away from the thing God gave you, all while they played innocent. But I caught it. I saw the shadow move the night you cried yourself to sleep. I saw the manipulation slip through that conversation. I saw them twist your kindness into a leash. And I recorded every moment. And heaven said, enough. You were about to sign off your own purpose. You were preparing to walk away. You thought maybe it was you. Maybe you were just being too sensitive, too emotional, too much. But no. That too much is the exact reason you're dangerous to darkness. You're sensitive because you're spiritually aware. You feel everything because heaven made you a radar. You cry easily because your soul is tender from carrying other people's pain. And they knew that. So they attacked the very part of you that made you chosen. Now listen closely. The destruction they triggered wasn't just about losing a job, a friend, or a reputation. It was about trying to steal your voice. Because your voice has authority in the spirit. Your words shake dimensions. Your agreement activates angels. And your silence feeds the enemy. That's why I was sent. To break the silence. To restore your roar. To return your discernment. You don't need their validation. You need heaven's confirmation. And this is it. Let's talk about the trap. They planted something, a rumor, a lie, a question, a manipulation. And now you feel it swirling, people acting strange, doors that were open suddenly closing, opportunities that almost reached you suddenly shifting away. That was the smoke of what they started. But I declare by heaven's fire, it will not prosper. You're not cursed. You're not forgotten. You're not defeated. You were targeted because of the mantle on your life. They saw it, and they couldn't stand it. Now let me speak the truth you've been afraid to say out loud. You knew. You felt it. You saw the signs. But you didn't want to believe it was them. And now you're standing at a spiritual fork in the road. You can keep pretending nothing happened. You can keep blaming yourself. You can keep begging for crumbs from someone who's spiritually bankrupt. Or you can step into the fire of truth and watch the lies burn. Because what they tried to destroy, God is about to use as fuel. Say this out loud with me. Every assignment sent against me is exposed. Every hidden word spoken against my name is nullified. Every spiritual trap is reversed. I reclaim my destiny in full. Declare it boldly. Because when you speak truth in the face of deception, the atmosphere shifts. And right now, your atmosphere is shifting. I saw them call your name and disguise it as concern. I saw them fake support while secretly rooting for your failure. I saw them smiling in public and slandering you in private. But here's the divine reversal. The pit they dug for you will become the proof of your protection. You will not fall. You will not break. You will not be delayed another day by someone too small for your future. God says, I allowed the exposure because I wanted you to stop asking for closure. You don't need their apology. You don't need their confession. You need your spirit to believe that I've already judged the situation. And I chose you, even if they rejected you, even if they lied, even if they walked away. You were chosen. And now heaven is building again, on truth, on strength, on awareness. The ruins of your betrayal are about to become the blueprint of your elevation. Here is your final instruction. Forgive, but do not reconnect. Anoint your environment with truth. Speak restoration over what they tried to ruin. Stop questioning what God already confirmed. You are not broken. You are awakened. And now, the destruction they tried to trigger has backfired. Your strength just became louder than their slander. Your voice just reclaimed territory. Your discernment just locked the door they used to enter. And I, Michael, have been commanded to stand watch until the fire of betrayal burns out completely. You are safe, but only because you finally chose truth over fantasy. Now stand in it, speak it, and don't look back. Type 777 to declare, the destruction has ended, the truth has won, and my deliverance has begun. Archangel Michael says, I stood in your dreams. I hovered near your pillow when your spirit woke too quickly. I whispered in winds you thought were just the breeze turning. You may have thought the signs were subtle, inconsequential, accidental. A flicker of a lamp, a call that went unanswered, a memory that insisted on coming back. But they were not mistakes. They were warning signals, flashing bright in the night sky of your soul. You almost dismissed them. Oh, it's just nerves. It's just a want of things being different. It's nothing. But hear me clearly. Those signs were heaven's gentle prod, preparing you for the avalanche that almost hit you. You were being snapped awake. Your spirit knew the hour was urgent, but your mind questioned. I am here to say, your mind was late, but your spirit was already rising. The signs you overlooked. You felt it when your prayer time got heavy, not because of burden, but because of spiritual resistance. A sudden sleepiness, a beating heart that wouldn't slow, a door that creaked when there was no wind. These were not natural interruptions. These were spiritual tripwires. They were set by unseen forces and honored by heaven. When your phone buzzed at 3 a.m. offering nothing, that was a nudge. When your heart skipped and you thought, did I just sense betrayal? That was heaven speaking. You almost missed it, but I did not. The dream that shook you. Let me cast you back to that dream. A room full of faces, but one face caused the air to shift. You couldn't name them at first, but you knew them, and your spirit tightened. Then came the voice. Not yet, not yet. You woke up breathing fast, but your rational mind said it wasn't real. It's just a dream. No, it was a wake-up call, one you ignored until your instincts screamed. You thought it was fatigue, but it wasn't. That dream was a portal. A moment when heaven leaned in. A moment when I tried to shout. But dreams never come with volume. The prayer that was delayed. You prayed. You pleaded. You knelt. You cried. But then, a lull. A pause in the answer. Everything went quiet. You said, "What did I do wrong?" But nothing was wrong except you waiting too long. Heaven paused at the point where you stayed silent. The silence wasn't punishment. It was a setup. A chance for you to wake up. Because at the back of your mind, you felt the tug. Your spirit cocked its head. It wondered, could this be betrayal? Could this be the start of something hidden? Your mind said it wasn't, but your spirit said, pay attention. That's the voice I'm honoring. The flash of recognition. Then came the moment when you were with someone else, laughing, smiling. And just for a moment, you froze. You tasted the joke. But your spirit dropped. You saw them. In the way they paused, in the tone of the compliment, you saw them. That was the flash of recognition, the moment you knew. Something is not right. You thought, it can't be them. But in your soul, you agreed and recoiled. You almost kept silent again, because confrontation is scary, because truth can hurt. But not speaking is the costliest silence of all. The final whisper. Then, right before you opened this message, the wind changed. Your chest heaved. Heaven leaned closer. Your spirit said, listen now, or lose this moment. You shivered, without cause. You blinked and paused. That moment was not fear. It was divine alarm. This is what it means. You have things in your soul you can't unsee anymore. You're unfolding into awareness. You're stepping out of confusion. You almost missed the warning. And this is what I need you to understand. You almost missed the very thing that would have saved you. That's why I'm prophetic urgency incarnate. That's why my wings burned when I wrote those words. That's why you feel this so deeply, because you are alive to say the warning reached you at last. Many won't. Many will wake up in ruins wondering, where was God? He was in the flicker. He was in the hesitation. He was in the dream you barely remembered. You just have to pay attention. Now, what happens next? You stop excusing the strange. You stop sanitizing the alarm. You stop wasting grace on those who already used you. Fix your gaze back to heaven. Brace your heart in vigilance. And invite me to stand guard. Here's your action. Go back through your day. What felt odd, even for a second? Notice it. Revisit your last vivid dream. What did you sense? Write it down. Speak this without hesitation. I will no longer miss the whisper. I will no longer delay at half-truths. I am awake. I am watching. Repeat it until your heart settles. This is your second chance. This moment is not a second warning. It's your last warning. You are no longer drifting. You are no longer waiting. You are no longer unaware. You are advancing in clarity. And now, heaven is with you in this stand. Michael still stands at your gate, sword drawn and wings unfurled. A silent sentinel in your waking hours. You didn't miss this one. Type 111 to declare, I will not miss another whisper. I will stand awake. I will guard every door in my heart. Archangel Michael says, the moment you acknowledge the betrayal, that's when I stepped in. My wings unfolded. My sword ignited. The heavens rallied. At that very instant, the spiritual tides shifted, and the battle began. You see, your decision to awaken in the midst of the storm unlocked a force that had been waiting on heavenly orders. I wasn't simply dispatched to bring a message. I was sent to do what only a warrior can do, to sever darkness, to defend, to restore. And now, my sword is drawn, the sword of truth. I hold a blade forged in pure truth. It does not cut flesh. It slices through lies, illusions, and deception. Every false word spoken against you, the sword severs it. Every hidden agreement made in darkness, the sword dissolves it. Every spiritual chain wrapped around your destiny, the sword unbinds it. And in its cutting arc, your clarity is restored. Why the sword was needed you are not subject to words formed in hidden rooms. You're not defined by the agreements hidden behind smiles. Those words have no power where my sword stands. Yes, they whispered. Yes, they convened. Yes, your name echoed in rooms that you never saw. But those rooms had bars forged by lies. Now my sword is at the threshold, shedding light, severing shadows. You the co-warrior. Let me tell you this. You are not watching from the sidelines. In fact, you are a co-warrior in this fight. When you said, I won't carry this anymore, you wielded spiritual authority. When you declared truth over silence, you activated divine intervention from heaven's courts. That declaration, even whispered, triggered the movement of angels. Your obedience became the leverage heaven needed to act. My sword did not extend beyond you, but through you. The battle in the invisible. This is not a clash of flesh and blood. This is a war in the realm of the unseen, where thoughts clash, words bind, and intentions take form. They built a strategy, quiet, insidious, invisible. But I came not just to expose the strategy, I came to dismantle it. Every covenanted word formed against you, my sword unwinds it. Every whispered lie disguised as counsel, my sword reveals and disarms it. And every spiritual fruit of betrayal that lingered in your atmosphere is being uprooted even now. How you feel the sword's work. You'll sense it first as peace. A heaviness you've carried will lift. Sleep will come with rest. A sudden clarity will sharpen your vision. You'll hear the truth in whispers, not arguments. You'll feel direction without the weight of confusion. Your faith won't be blind, it will be sighted. Because the sword is not only active against the enemy, it's active within you, clearing your vision and healing your wound. Battles won in stillness. The enemies you faced were backed by noise, by rumors, by precarious alliances. But my work isn't loud. The most decisive battles are often won in stillness, in the silence after prayer, in the moment when you say, enough, in the clarity of knowing you don't have to explain. That's where the blade finds its ground. You are not responsible to fight back in words. You just need to stand still and let truth sever the lies. The sword's dual edge. Remember, my sword has two edges. One cuts the enemy, the other purifies what's left behind. So as I dismantle their destructive plans, I am also healing your spirit. I restore the boundaries they violated. I repair the atmosphere they polluted. I reinstate your peace without your having to fight for it. It's the same blade, divine justice and restoration, sharpened and balanced. What happens now? You may notice doors reopening that were closed, dreams resuming as if nothing happened, your voice returning with boldness and clarity, relationships aligning and realigning around truth. These are not coincidences. These are the tangible effects of the sword's gospel. Every cut is divine. Every restoration is intentional. And every peace that floods your spirit is by the decree of heaven. Release the sword within you. You might feel tempted to pick up a war posture, to defend, to confront, to retaliate. But that's not what this blade is for. This sword, my sword, is offered to you as a symbol of authority, not aggression. Stand. Quiet your heart. Let truth be spoken, not by your words, but by the atmosphere around you. In that quiet, the enemy's lies will collapse. Your next move, speak your truth quietly, but with conviction. I stand under the blade of heaven. I am defended. I am restored. Stand unshaken when accusations resurface. They don't carry power where my sword stands. Receive peace when confusion tries to cloud your mind. Let clarity anchor you. Release compassion for the deceived, even as the sword severs ties. Let your heart heal through grace. A sacred call to stand. Set your spirit like a fortress. When truth has a blade, there's no need to fight. You just need to stand in the clarity of heaven's blade. That is where deliverance lives. That is where your restore begins. That is where your spiritual circumference is sealed. The war won't return. The sphere of deception that tried to trap you has been shattered. My sword is not a temporary fix, it's a divine boundary. So when they circle back, when the whispers resume, when old fear tries to sneak back, you have a boundary that cannot be crossed. The sword remains. Stand with me. Close your eyes and feel it now. The metal of truth, the heat of justice, the hum of heavenly protection around you. Feel its edge cutting through every doubt, every accusation, every fracture. You are shielded, you are whole, you are restored. And I, Michael, will never sheath my sword while your calling stands. Type 444 to declare. I am defended by heaven's sword. I stand unbroken. I receive restoration. Archangel Michael says, you are standing at the threshold. Heaven has intervened. You have a choice in your hands, a spiritual hinge that determines the direction of your destiny. This is not a time for hesitation. This is the sacred hour where your decision becomes the turning point. Your yes or no echoes eternally. Ayo. Every step you take now echoes in eternity. If you move toward truth, you step into deliverance and supernatural elevation. If you slip into fear or forgiveness without boundaries, you risk reopening portals that were closed. Your move matters. It shifts atmospheres. It shifts destinies. It invites blessings or triggers backlashes. Choose wisely. Why your obedience triggers answer. God never commands blindly. When He calls, He positions. When you obey, it activates angels. When you don't, it stalls the shift. Your obedience unlocks the windows of heaven. Your word determines where the sword stays drawn or is sheathed. Right now, the spiritual currents are alive. You are the co-author of restoration. Yes, I hold the sword. Yes, I wield divine authority. But the restoration of your path cannot begin without your cooperation. God wrote His part. You must author yours. When you say, yes, I break this, the air obeys. When you say no more, barriers crumble. When you step away, peace replaces the chaos. You are not a spectator. You are a participant in your own rescue narrative. The stakes are high. If you choose confusion, the darkness will circle back, subtle and sly, like a mist on worn armor. If you choose faith, clarity, obedience, your path is clear, elevated, protected. Some will mistake your move for pride, but pride waits, discernment acts. Your boundaries are not arrogance. They are protection. The mirror effect. Your move also sets the spiritual atmosphere for others. When you stand, others find their strength. When you obey, others are liberated. When you draw your line, others find permission to say, enough. You are a spiritual mirror. The stakes are greater than just your life. They impact your generation. The weapon of the spoken move. Your words have weight. Spoken words activate heaven's contracts. You don't have to shout. You don't have to explain. You just have to speak. Examples. I refuse to be shadowed by deception. This atmosphere belongs to peace, not unwarranted access. I align with heaven's protection. Your words set new realities. The battle that responds to action. I and millions of angels are waiting for your move. When you move, we move. When you speak, we enforce. When you stand unwavering, the lines in the spirit are redrawn. Your trust and obedience are our command. No retreat, no resignation. Avoid the road of guilt or compromise. A compromised move becomes its own prison. Resignation weakens the resolve at the bedrock of your calling. This isn't about anger. It's about consecration. When you reset the perimeter, you signal heaven to reorganize everything around you. Your life reflects the spiritual shift. Here is what obedience brings: fresh divine energy, clarity in vision and purpose, covenant protection, realignment with destiny, doors reopening with ease, joy that returns as peace. This is not fictional. This is your inheritance. Concrete steps to take right now. Identify your next step. Is it healing, boundary setting, walking away, or speaking your truth? Define it. Enact it. Make the call. Say the word. Set the boundary. Start the move. Speak the atmospheric decree. Heaven, I accept. I commit. Pause. Let the atmosphere adjust before words come again. Your move does not have to be dramatic. It has to be decisive. Obedience rewrites the story. When you act in faith, the narrative changes. What they meant for collapse becomes the launchpad for your next season. What felt irreversible becomes revisioned in your favor. Your move rewrites the script. The dawn of new alignment. This is not just survival, it's revival. You've been tested, scanned, and separated to enter this renewal. Heaven is reordering resources, alliances, and favor, all based on your move now. So decide and move. A sacred invitation. Will you stand? Will you speak? Will you step into obedience to seal the boundary and activate the next chapter? Heaven is waiting on your response. Type 555 to declare, I choose clarity. I choose obedience. I choose elevation. I step into the next season with courage and faith. Archangel Michael says, you made it to the end, not just of this message, but of a spiritual cycle that was sent to break you. I have one final thing to tell you. The destruction has been stopped. But what happens next is up to you. This betrayal was never just about pain. It was about positioning. God allowed what they did, so that heaven could reveal what you're truly made of. You're stronger now, wiser, more awake. The sword has fallen. The chains have shattered. The darkness that stood in your blind spot has now been fully exposed. But if you walk back into it, if you reopen what God closed, you reactivate the very storm you just survived. This is not a moment to reminisce. This is a moment to rebuild. So ask yourself this: are you willing to walk forward without what once felt safe? Are you ready to stop making excuses for those who keep wounding you? Heaven has given you the truth. You are no longer blind. You are no longer bound. You are no longer behind. Now walk. Walk into the new clarity. Walk into the protection you asked for. Walk like someone who was delivered, because you were. And when fear whispers, remind it. Michael was here, and I didn't miss the moment. Type 777 if you're sealing this breakthrough. Let the enemy know your deliverance wasn't delayed, it was detonated, and you survived it all.